but you get a feel, right? And so, you know, Sheila Williams took over Asimov's, I think, like 8 years ago, and she was assistant editor before that, and she has a very good sense of what her readers are expecting. And Dell Magazines continues to make money off of Asimov's because there's a particular, like, people go to read what Sheila Williams picked. And Sheila Williams picks what she thinks the current readers are going to go for. And she has to please about 30,000 people a month. Like, if you count her hard sales plus the e-sales, which incidentally she's saying are really going up, which is great. It's good for the industry. Whereas somebody who has to please 500 people or 1,000 people can niche market something and be a lot riskier, yeah. Especially if you don't have to sell it in a brick and mortar store.
I think you may even be talking about someone putting out a genre that doesn't even exist yet.
That's happening more and more. There's a whole lot of genre blurring that's happening, and people are. I've had a lot of agents get back to me saying, "This is actually a pretty good story, but I don't know how to sell it." Oh, thanks. So I'll try and find someone else. Yeah. This looks like a book that will sell, but. All right.
Was there a question here?
No.
Okay. What do you think about the question Tyler had about because you know you run a magazine, so.
Oh yeah, I love the wacky stuff, and will always advocate for it. I mean, assuming it's well written.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a little bit, you know, there's always a little bit of conflict on editorial boards, but I mean, the more genres that are fused together, the more interesting content, the more I love it, because you do get so much as an editor, like when you're going through the slush pile, you get so much repetition across the theme.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you'll read the same story over and over and over again. So like those, curtains eating people. That is great. Like the stranger stuff, the better. So I mean, but in practice, like there is a limit to what is.
Does it get to be a bit hit and miss? Like obviously you're pushing the limit, but if you're pushing the limit in 3 different directions at once,
Well, it's also a really great way to introduce somebody who probably sticks to one particular genre. If you start blending genres, you're like, well, it's sort of like this book, but it's also a bit like this, and then suddenly they get really into sci-fi because normally they read paranormal romance, but this one happens on a spaceship or something like that, and they're like, oh wow, this was actually really cool, and they get exposure to other genres with these blending.
I definitely agree with that. It's because it's online, it's so much more accessible, and things like podcasts, and pseudopod, you can get you exposed to authors you might not normally ever get to experience, because maybe their other works appeared in an anthology, and I don't know about you, but I'm extremely cheap, so for me to actually go to a bookstore and buy an anthology, that's taking a risk. Because usually there might be a couple of really good authors and a few real clunkers in there, but at this, I can list it. If I don't like it, I can delete it, and that's great, and that's great. So.
I agree, that is quite good.
Another author I'll name is somebody who's in this issue of Asimov, Jay Lake. He appears a lot in Beneath Ceaseless Skies as well.
Does he? May I steal one?
They are swag for...
for you guys.
Yes,
you guys steal them.
Yes, well there's actually lots. I swiped these from the Asimov's party at Worldcon because I was working the Sifo suite afterwards, and there was a big box of them.
it was you!
Does anybody want an Asimov's? It's this straight from Sheila Williams via me.
Give mine to her.
Okay.
No, it's okay. You can have it.
Go ahead. Now, I will. I think. Any other questions? Okay.
Anybody mentioned Starship Sofa?
No, nobody mentioned Starship Sofa or Drabblecast. Do you want to mention what you know about them?
Just that Tony talks real weird and is entertaining while he does it, and.
I haven't gotten into Starship Sofa yet.
It's a good source for, because it's volunteer and people will volunteer anything, it's a good source for alternative SF, as in from other cultures. You'll get a lot from Europe in it. Don't ever rely on Tony's pronunciation, figure out who an author is.
Tony is British, right?
Yeah, but that
like
doesn't
sort of
explain it.
Brummy, Scottish, almost, northern British.
He's somewhere there.
You would never guess that.
Geordie.
How does he
Is
pronounce
he a
it?
Geordie?
I believe.
That's awesome. I love the Geordie accent.
Yeah, so he's got, like, Mayaville you would never, ever recognize as, to begin with, it was Chris at the beginning, not China.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The Drabblecast I haven't listened to. in part, mostly because of what Matt says, and Matt likes the travel cast, and so does Peter, I think. But they're supposed to be really short stories, drabbles, they call them. And I think
Is
they're
that like flash fiction?
I think it's so short that they had to find a separate name for it.
Oh, wow.
It's like 200 words or something, drabbles. I don't know, but in any case, I haven't listened to that, but there is a market there.
Yeah.
And if that's your thing,
We buy and publish shorts that are that short for
Oh,
our
yes.
operations.
Your annual shorthand, yeah.
I envy people who can write that, tell a whole story in just a paragraph.
That's a real challenge.
It is,
The
it's a
good ones
horrific
are
challenge.
amazing.
I'm such a
Oh,
lingual
it's
file. End up writing forever.
Give it as a haiku.
what I will say is, just to sort of sum up things before I thank the panels is, I started as a novel reader. I had no interest whatsoever in reading short fiction. And I went to short fiction when I had to, because I was hearing all over the place that the way to get in sci-fi with novels is to get yourself publishing history with short fiction.
I've heard this.
And so I spent 3 years reading all of the best of, all of the writers of the future, reading Asimov's, reading analog, and finding out I don't like analog, finding out I do like Asimov's. And for me, I found that now that I've been at it for a while, I actually quite enjoy short fiction. And as a writer, it gives me different things I can do. I can try more things than I can investing 1 whole year in a novel. I can invest 1 month in an idea in a short story and really have something that's kind of cool. So there's a lot of experimentation. There's a lot of bubbling and boiling at the edges where short fiction is. And I mean, you've got your flagships of Asimov's, FNSF, and Analog, but all around them, there's this it's bubbling. There's so much energy in the short fiction markets that you can literally find the boutique sort of editorial vision that works for you, and suddenly you're like, wow, and most of the time it's free. So I highly recommend short fiction, and I'm going to turn over for last words to our panelists.
I don't really have anything to say except, support Beneath Ceaseless Skies. They were really good. I was so impressed. I'm not usually one who goes online to read my fiction for things in hand. I'm a little old-fashioned that way, I guess. But yeah, they pay their authors, and there's a number of ways you can support them, and their fiction is incredible. I was so pleasantly surprised.
You mean you were doing this with the expectation that you weren't going to like it?
Yeah, usually that works out better for me than if I go in with high expectations. It's like movies. If you go in with really high expectations, you're always disappointed.
You can also do a shameless plug at the end of the panel.
Oh, I have a booth. Come visit me.
Jeff?
Final thoughts from me. I think that online short fiction is definitely the way to go if you want to broaden your literary horizons to see what's out there. And speaking from personal experience, the publishers of online short fiction are a real pleasure to deal with. They're very approachable, and you get really excellent feedback from them as a writer. As a short plug for me, my most recent story was actually published by AE Sci-Fi. It's called The Old Boys Club. It's in the fall. The festival's up in issue.
Yeah, so there's the full disclosure that, Paul and Jeff actually worked together. Yeah. So, I don't think I have any shameless plugs other than to say that there is a panel at 2 p.m. Where I was saying there's the Idiomancer and AE Sci-Fi publishers with Idiomancer and AE Sci-Fi readers. I think it's going to be a real experiment. I wish I could see it, but I'm going to be on the panel if East Block of Regulars go to Chicago. And if you're like Jeff and you like horror, then there's a panel called Horror. What works of horror are scaring the bleep out of you? You're going to have Alia Ahmad, who is a professor at Carleton, who just put out an anthology of horror fiction, also studies the gendered effects of horror fiction. Brett Savory is one of the publishers of Cheesine. Matt Moore is just plain creepy. And Sandra Kasturi is one of the other publishers of Cheesine. And then Sean Moreland, who is another academic with that. So there's tons of great stuff. And if you want to learn more about Weird Westerns, Jeff is going to be talking about some in 2 hours. 1 hour.
Had a bad rap for that.
Yeah, no, and Matt doesn't look anything like me.
That's
If anybody wants a copy of the Matt Moore story, I've got one printed off. I'd be happy to give it to you.
Yeah. And thank you very much. You guys were great, and we'll catch you at different panels in the conference.